morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good 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 morning, pineapple. Looking very good, very pineapple.
Marco, looks like you're gonna have to be Christy Noem's husband now.
We're not going to go there. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and that's on the 4 Liberty Network. And yes, we do have a soundboard. Deal with it. What happens when a governor tells an entire class of taxpayers to get out? And they actually do. That is not a hypothetical. It is New York right now in 2026, where Quest Fanning lives. Can't wait to see a Quest and Franny. Kathy Hochul stood in front of a crowd in 2022 and told Republicans to get on a bus and leave her state. 102,000 people took her up on it. $13.7 billion in personal income walked out the door with them. And now, 3.5 years later, the same governor is publicly talking about driving to Palm Beach to recruit them back. Well, shit fire. What a mess. That is not spin. That is a direct quote from the official transcript on the governor's own website. Oh. Wah, 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 wah. So we're going to break down exactly what that means for New York's budget and why the numbers are as bad as they look. At the same time, right here in Jefferson City, Missouri, the Missouri House voted 98-54 to put income tax elimination on the ballot. Let's go! Let's go! Zero income tax by 2032. I know. Hey, calm down, everybody. Hey, shut it! Quit! By 2032. So that is the plan. It's structured, it has revenue triggers, and it's happening right now in my backyard. So we're going to lay out exactly how it works and what it can mean for the state if it passes. Pro tip, that's why Austin's looking snazzy today. Looking like a 1950s dad. Steffi, fetch me my slippers. Going to go testify today in favor of doing the damn thing. This is why you pay me $17.76 a month, so I could take off work and I could go and argue in the state capitol against Democrats. For just $17.76 a month. Speaking of $17.76 a month, hey, congratulations, America. We made it. 250 years. Some people, they didn't think we could make it. They thought America was going to fall apart long before this for hundreds of years, generation after generation after generation. And we proved them all wrong, didn't we, America? We're still going strong. USA, USA. Nobody loves America or freedom more than me. The Wake Up America show would like to have you prove me wrong. If you think you love America more than me, well, I've got a way for you to prove it. Head to 4libertyshop.com. Did you like that little plug there? How's that? Basically, if you don't go to 4libertyshop.com, you're not a real American. calling all of your patriotism into question today. Just kidding. It is a lot of fun, though, to check out just what we have in the merch shop and just play around, toss some stuff in the cart and see how much stuff ends up being. You might be shocked. Our 250 Years of Liberty collection, 1776 to 2026, is beautiful. And there really is something for any patriot in your life, especially if they love the American Revolution. We got it all. And Stephanie has stepped up her game this year. Let me tell you, everybody loves the polo. The 250th anniversary embroidered American flag polo shirt is a beautiful. I was actually looking at the white one and kind of sad I didn't get the white one. I thought that my big fat Kristi Noem husband boobs were going to stick out too much. So I got a black one because I don't, you don't want, when you get to be an older guy like me, you get natural man boobs. You don't have to wear the fake ones. So apparently, I guess Kristi Noem's husband must have been in pretty good shape because he felt comfortable wearing those massive knockers, which... If you didn't see the story, guys, it's one of those things that blows up on the internet in like 12 hours, and if you blink, you miss it. I'm not going to explain it to you here. I'm just going to tell you that if you love America, you'll go to forlibertyshop.com this morning, unlock the bonus content, a mini documentary, a biopic about one of the American Revolution's, I would say, somewhat unsung heroes you'll learn about today if we raise $100 on the show. So head on over. Don't make the mistake I did. And it's not a mistake. I love the black one. If you got the Kristi Noem husband boobies, then Thormock blinked. Don't look it up. Don't look up the story. But I think I'm actually going to go through with it. I'm going to buy 2 of the damn same polos because I like them so much. 250th anniversary. It's an embroidered American flag polo. It's super high quality. Get yours today at forlibertyshop.com. And let's get this show on the road. What do you say, guys? All right, guys. So these 2 stories that we're talking about this morning before we get to our incredible guests, and we have some fantastic guests starting at 8 and 8:30 this morning. But these 2 stories tell you everything that you need to know about where this country, America, is headed on taxes from 1776, no taxation without representation, to today, the founding fathers will be shooting by now. One state is trying to figure out how to keep what it has. One state, Missouri, is trying to build something new. We're looking towards a brighter future. Libertarian nationalism is Missouri nationalism. I say, you know what, guys? After we abolish the income tax, I say secession. Let's go it alone. Yeah! Just kidding. We're not there yet. We'll let the numbers speak for themselves, though, today. From there, we're going to go to Tiffany Savage today. Her first time on the show, Patriot Savvy on X. She's been on the ground in Georgia organizing for the conservative movement. There's a message circulating right now on the right that names Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Steve Bannon, Rand Paul, Thomas Massie, and others, and lays the blame for any future Republican losses directly at their feet. So we're going to talk through what is actually happening inside the coalition right now, what the polling says, and what it means for November. We're going to talk about the story that broke about Kristi Noem's husband, if we get to it. National security experts are raising questions about potential blackmail exposure at the DHS. Kristi Noem's rep says she was devastated. The family's blindsided. We're going to cover it straight. And later, 8:30, you guys are going to love Maggie Onders is going to be on the show. She joins us to talk about the American self-hatred and the 250th anniversary of the founding. Her post this week she made on it got attention for a reason. We're going to get into why. Quick note, guys, before we kick this off, you guys make this possible. We do not take this lightly. Everything we do here, we got you today. We do like every day. If we raise $100 in Rumble Rants, that unlocks the mini documentary that features the biopic of American revolutionary heroes. $150 gets you into the great grift off. I'm not going to oversell it, guys. The people who have done it before keep coming back. People who have never watched the show before, don't miss out. Join the community. We are a fun, freedom-loving, America-loving, liberty nationalists, and we know that you're going to love the Wake Up America show. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go. GLAMOROUS.
On a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town.
I need people who are
high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state.
Excuse me?
Right. Now, there are some patriotic millionaires who stepped up.
Huh?
Okay, cut me the checks. I mean, just if you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home.
Wait a second. Hold on one cotton picking minute there, Kathy Hochul. Now, if you are listening to this show as opposed to watching it, you might be confused. The first part of the clip, Kathy Hochul says in a debate running for governor on August 22nd of 2022, here's what she had to say.
On a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay?
Why don't
Get out of town.
Why don't you get on a bus and go down to Florida, get out of town, go to Florida where you belong.
People who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state.
That's how they sell this. This is how they sell it. This is how they're selling their programs. We need you to come back and fund the generous social welfare programs. You come back, you see, it's like that meme where the guy walks into the room with a pizza and everybody's like burning alive and their heads are on fire. Yeah, the leaves are turning in New York. Spring has sprung. The midterms are coming. Governor Kathy Hochul is out on the campaign trail. She inherited her job from Andrew Cuomo. Remember him, the guy who got run out of Albany for turning his office into a personal touching zoo? Pretty. I can touch you, please. Very classy lineage. She's trying to hold on to the governorship of the most tax burdened, most mismanaged, most expensive state in the continental United States. The crowd is roaring. The signs are waving. Kathy Hochul decides this is her moment. She leans into the microphone, caught on video, preserved forever, and she says, just jump on a bus and head down to Florida where you belong. Get out of town, because you don't represent our values. You are not New Yorkers. The crowd eats it up. They're stomping, they're cheering. Rah. The billionaires are leaving, and the lefty commies in Manhattan are just pack out. Wall Street's leaving for Texas. Kathy Hochul is grinning like a woman who has never once considered the consequences of anything she's ever said. Now, who's she talking to there? She's not talking to criminals, not people who did something wrong. She's talking to Republican voters, business owners, people who had the audacity to disagree with her party and her policies, people who built things, employed people, paid enormous amounts of taxes. And the governor of New York looked them in the eye and told them to get out. Free citizens, not captive livestock. And those free citizens called the bluff. They left. The corporate media at the time, I don't remember her saying this. This was not a news story. August 22nd, 2022. They buried this story. They must have spun it, ignored it. I missed it, and I'm reading this stuff every day. So let's put the actual numbers on the table and let them speak. The Citizens Budget Commission is New York's own independent fiscal watchdog, not a Republican operation or a conservative think tank. This is their own people, and they reported that New York City lost 102,000 residents and $13.7 billion in personal income to Florida alone. Just Florida. Between 2018 and 2022, $13.7 billion walked out the door and headed south on I-95. Now it gets worse. The Empire Center pulled U.S. Census data. The entire state of New York lost 238,000 residents between 2020 and 2024, a drop of 1.2% in 4 years. But America's population is growing. A drop of 1.2% in 4 years. In New York, America's population grew by more than double that, 2.6. So the rest of the country added people, added productivity, added to the tax base. New York lost all three. Where were they going? Well, the most popular destination for departing New Yorkers was Florida. The exact state that Hochul pointed at and said, go there if you don't like it.
To Florida where you belong. On a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town.
Yeah, get out of town. The most popular destination. So they listened to her. Okay, thank you. We will. Stanford researchers Mark Duggan and Emma Howe looked at the migration data in 2021 alone. 221,000 Americans moved to Florida, while 352,000 New Yorkers moved out of the state entirely. They noted, quote, Florida's lower taxes and no personal income tax, along with limited government, are better for fostering economic growth than New York's model of higher taxes and stronger regulation. No way. No way. No. So Stanford, that was them being polite. Allow me to be less polite. It's obvious. It has always been obvious. Charge people more, give them less safety, worse schools, more crime, more bureaucratic insanity. They will leave. This is not rocket science. This is what your grandmother could have told you over a kitchen table in 1987 when the great Ronald Reagan was president. Oh, there you go again. But Hochul didn't listen to Grandma. Hochul listened to her donors. The donors needed those tax revenues, so the machine kept running and the people kept leaving. The most damning confirmation came from New York State Comptroller Thomas Dinapoli, February 2026. His own report quietly acknowledged that state spending is projected to increase faster than inflation and projected revenues. Faster than revenues. They are spending more than they take in, and they plan to keep doing it. And the people they need to take it from, though, are sunbathing in Boca Raton. Must be nice. Spring break. Spring break. Don't forget to click that like button. I could not have written what happened next. No comedy writer could write this. No satirist, no political cartoonist. Reality beats all of them. March 11th, 2026, the Politico New York Agenda Summit in Albany. Governor Hochul sits down for fireside chat with Albany Bureau Chief Nick Reisman. He asks her about tax increase proposals that her own legislature is negotiating. Big hikes on high earners. Big hikes on corporations. The progressive wish list Albany has been salivating over for years. And Hochul, the same woman, says the following.
I need people who are high net worth to support the generous social programs that we want to have in our state. Right? Now, there are some patriotic millionaires who stepped up. Okay, cut me the checks. I mean, just if you want to be supportive, but maybe the first step should be go down to Palm Beach and see who you can bring back home, because our tax base has been...
Come on, man. Don't let this story get buried. Don't let them have it. If you're in a state like Missouri sitting on the precipice of liberty and you're getting ready to abolish your income tax, you play that clip for them. You cut it right here. You clip it right from this Wake Up America show. You type ! clip space the number 240 and you shall haveth your clippeth. Clip it. Make sure you tell them AP sent you. So sit with this, guys. She tells them to go to Palm Beach. They went to Palm Beach. Now she wants to drive down there and beg them to come back and pay her bills. This is like an ex-girlfriend showing up at your new house with a casserole after she burned down your old one. This is the modern democratic governing philosophy laid completely bare. Step 1, tax the productive class into oblivion. Step 2, tell them to leave if they don't like it. Step 3, watch them leave. Step 4, blame someone else. Step 5, drive to Florida and beg them to come back. There is no step 6, no plan, no lesson learned. Just the eternal democratic loop of chasing the money they already destroyed the incentive to earn. Deep down in the bones of every big government progressive is this belief. The belief that people do not have the right to leave. That your productivity, your income, your life's work belongs to the collective. That when you pick up and go, you're not exercising your freedom, you're committing betrayal. You are stealing from the community. How dare you prefer Florida's governance to ours? But then when the budget numbers don't add up and suddenly the governor is polishing her shoes for a trip to Palm Beach, every socialist economy that has ever existed runs this same pattern. You build a system that requires a productive class for it to operate. The system cracks. The government never reforms. It just tightens its controls. But in a free country, unlike East Germany, you cannot build a wall. So you do the next thing. You beg. Please. Please. Help. Help, not just anybody. So let's talk about where those people actually went, because this is not just a Florida story. This is a national realignment. A February 2026 report from the Partnership from New York City found in 2024, Texas surpassed New York as the state with the most financial services employees in the country. So think about that. Remember what I was talking about earlier? Wall Street, the brand, the institution, the global symbol of American financial power is no longer the dominant financial employment center in the United States. Texas is. Financial services job postings in Texas beat New York by 9% last year. New York's new stock exchanges are actually launching in Texas right now. Businesses that spent generations in Manhattan are packing boxes and heading southwest. And it's not because Austin has better pizza. It's because the tax rate is lower. The pizza is really good, New York, but nobody wants to pay those damn taxes. Sorry. I ain't paying that. And the government, has to stop treating its citizens like an ATM with a heartbeat. Hochul knows this. She said it herself. Wall Street businesses looking at Texas, they're not going there because they have a nicer governor. I know that for sure, but they're going there because of the tax rate. Duh. Yeah. Every Democrat running a high-tax state knows this. They know exactly why people leave, and they do it anyway. Because one, they're scared of their base, and because two, reforming government means reducing their own power. And that's the one thing that they will never voluntarily do. A 2024 paper in the American Economic Journal looked at 110 years of U.S. migration data. From 1900 to 2010, it found that state income taxes consistently drove middle and high-earning households out over and over, decade after decade. So this is not a COVID thing. This is not a Trump thing. This is not a remote work thing, really. I think this is human nature. Free people prefer to keep more of what they earn. I know that this is groundbreaking stuff. Apparently, I know that you have a lot of options for entertainment this morning, and you could be watching the shows that are talking about Kristi Noem's husband with the gigantic boobs. But bear with me, please. Americans continue to leave high-tax, high-cost states for lower-tax alternatives every year, predictably. So we have 100 years of academic research on this. There's real-time census data, moving company receipts, U-Hauls, a Stanford study, the New York State Comptroller's own report, $13.7 billion walking out the door. The Democrat response, more taxes and begging for a ride to be hitched down to Palm Beach, okay? It's not hard. Make sure you click that like button if you haven't already. If today is the first time you've ever watched the Wake Up America show, click the follow button as well. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. The Wake Up America show that you're watching live right now is part of a whole network of shows. We are a whole ecosystem that we'd love to have you join. We call it the For Liberty Network, and we have 5 shows on this network. If you want to check them all out, check out wakeupAmericaShow.com. That's wakeupAmericaShow.com. That's our show website. Lists all of the shows on the network. You can also find their show pages there. And if you've been lurking in the background for, say, a number of months and you haven't commented, but you're ready to come out into the light and say, Austin, I want to help build the For Liberty Network. Well, I'm happy to do a personal phone call with you to talk about it. And I'm also if you don't want to take the time, you're too busy, but you just want to support us, go to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Join the hundreds and hundreds of people who have signed up to build the For Liberty Network at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. All kinds of wonderful benefits of membership. We won't send you Dakota rings that say drink your Ovaltine, but we will send you a nice family Christmas card. And let me tell you, the Christmas card list this year is going to be pretty long. So thank you to all who have supported us in the past. And we're grateful for everybody who has found their way to Rumble and who has found their way to the Wake Up America show, because it is so hard to build an audience, especially on this platform. And you got to fight for every eyeball that you have. And I see the 74 people out there, 76 people, and I know you're all real living human beings. And I want to treat you as such and respect you and let you know how grateful I am that you would take some of your very precious time, your precious minutes in the morning and spend them with me, listening to me. I'm truly grateful. So that being said, let's add another layer to this tax story, because the tax flight story is only really half of what's happening right now, because the other half is hitting ordinary people in New York, and that's most of us. I'm pretty ordinary in many ways. I'm not a millionaire. I'm a regular guy, middle class. The New York State Legislature passed the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, the CLCPA, which is a law requiring New York to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by 2030, net zero by 2050. Grand ambitions. The kind that sound magnificent. If you were to give a press conference, chef's kiss. And absolutely devastating on everybody's utility bills, of course. Yes. Woo! Excusez-moi. So February 26, 2026, Hochul's own energy agenda, New York CERDA, NYSERDA. They sent a memo to the governor's office. Hochul later admitted she'd been pushing this memo around for years. Nobody had been paying attention. The memo lays out exactly what the full CLCPA compliance would cost ordinary New Yorkers. These regulations, the numbers are crazy. By 2031, gasoline prices could increase by another $2.23 on top of whatever they already are. Natural gas could jump by $16.96 per million British thermal units. Upstate households running on gas and oil, 2 cars in the driveway because there's no subway in Ogdensburg, could see gross cost increases another $4,100 a year. New York City gas households, $2,300 per year in added costs. Hochul went to Tonawanda, stood in front of a gas station, told New Yorkers the climate law has to change. Her own Democrats pushed back hard on this. More than 2/3 of state Senate Democrats sent her a letter. They categorically oppose any rollback. State Senator Liz Krueger, who's the chair of the finance committee there, said, quote, "The governor wants New Yorkers to believe that even though we've hardly done anything to implement CLCPA, it is somehow to blame for the rising energy costs." Hochul fires back, quote, "The false narrative is that I'm telling people their utility bills are higher because of the CLCPA. I'm trying to stop your utility bills from going higher by rolling this out with a longer runway." So let me translate that. Hochul is not saying that this law caused the high bills that New Yorkers are currently suffering. She's saying if we implement this on the current timeline, your bills will be catastrophic tomorrow. So she's trying to prevent a future disaster, and her own party is blocking her because this climate law, all of these climate laws are sacred. The goals are non-negotiable. And if ordinary New Yorkers have to choose between heating their home and eating dinner, well, small price to pay for saving the planet. Now, Hochul mentioned a farmer in Sackett's Harbor. His utility bill went from $10,000 in January to $22,000 1 month later, doubled. Those costs get passed to consumers. Food gets more expensive. The people who can least afford it get hit hardest. What are the farmers supposed to do? The ones who grow our food. You raise their energy, you double their energy bills on them. What do you think they're going to do to the prices of the wheat that they're growing? What do you think they're going to do to all of us here? But the progressives, the ideologues, the Marxists, the leftists in Albany, they're holding the line. They had a plan in 2019, and by God, they're sticking to it. The pandemic happened, inflation happened, Trump killed the federal renewable energy subsidies. A judge is now ordering the state to implement regulations that will cost family thousands more a year. None of it matters. The plan is the plan. Nothing matters but the revolution. So this is ideological governance in practice. It's worse than malicious. It's people who are so committed to their own version of the future that they cannot see and they are blind to the suffering happening in the present. So what's the lesson from all this? Because I'm ready to move on. Move on to the next topic here in a minute. Let's bring it home because this is not just a story about Kathy Hochul's terrible, bad, no good march. This is a cautionary tale for every state, every city, every country that has ever decided it could tax and regulate and moralize its way to prosperity. New York has proven in real time with real data and real people's real lives that free people vote with their feet. Always have. They've done it for hundreds of years, and they're doing it right now. You cannot build a wall around a free state. You cannot force productive citizens to fund a machine that treats them like revenue sources rather than human beings. And when you try, when you sneer at them and you mock them and you tell them they're not real New Yorkers, they smile, load the moving truck, and send you a postcard from their new pool in Palm Beach.
On a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town. On a bus and head down to Florida where you belong, okay? Get out of town. Get out of town.
Oh no, what is this? Is this the consequence of your own actions? Hochul is facing the consequences of a philosophy that has dominated democratic governance for generations. Government is the answer. Government is the solution. Government can remake society if it just has enough power and enough revenue. Every single time that philosophy meets reality, reality wins. But guys, let's take something from this beyond the satisfaction of just the schadenfreude and the politician who told people to leave now begging them to come back, because this story is bigger than just one governor's humiliation. Liberty is not free. It is not automatic. It does not sustain itself. Every New Yorker who moved to Florida or Texas or Tennessee, or who might move to Missouri if we get rid of ours, getting there in a moment, they're sending a message. It's a message that you cannot manufacture in a press conference, an op-ed, or tweet. People just left. They delivered the most devastating political argument that is even possible. They leave. A $13.7 billion argument. What New York is experiencing, it's not an isolated malfunction. It's just a preview of what's coming in California. They're running the exact same experiment. Illinois, same experiment. Every major American city governed by unchecked progressive power is running this experiment. The results are always the same. The productive leave, the dependents stay, taxes rise on whoever's left, the spiral accelerates. The founders of this country understood that something that the modern progressive movement has forgotten. Government is a necessary servant and a dangerous master. Liberty and prosperity are not products of wise central planning. They are the products of free people making free choices in free markets without some Albany bureaucrat telling them where they belong. Hochul thinks that she could fly to Palm Beach and charm those millionaires home. Well, maybe a few will come back. Maybe a few feel patriotic enough, and maybe they will be stupid enough to go and pay for the social programs, or maybe they're nostalgic or foolish. But the structural problem will not be solved by this charm offensive or a road trip. It will not be solved by calling wealthy taxpayers patriotic when you need their money and not real New Yorkers when you don't. The only solution is the thing that the modern Democratic Party cannot bring itself to do, which is govern less, spend less, control less, trust the people more. That is the lesson of New York. That is the lesson of every high tax, high spend, high regulation state in the history of Christendom. Until the people running these places are willing to learn that, until the Kathy Hochuls and the Zorn Mamdanis are willing to learn this, they're going to keep standing at empty bus stations wondering where everybody went. I'm Austin Petersen. This is the Wake Up America show. You may all go to hell, and I will go to Texas. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Before we move on closer here, Jefferson City, where it is storming, thunderstorming, and raining, 54 degrees Fahrenheit in Jefferson City. Mo, hope you're having a wonderful morning wherever you are, Mr. Norris, M&M's. Quest Fanning, he's in New York, so how could he be having a good morning? Andy Opperman. And why is Andy talking about a baked squirrel dish? What is...
Oh, God! No, God, please, no! No! No!
Could I have a more, disgusted look on my face? People eat squirrel. What is wrong with you? It is a rodent. Once you eat a capybara, at least you get a steak. You can get like a steak-sized chunk of meat out of it. What are you eating? It's like putting a gopher on a stick and putting it over a fire. What are you, starving to death? What's wrong with you? Don't they have like aren't they like pestilential? Anyways, wake up, little Susie. Don't start singing "Wake Up, Susie," little Susie Austin. It's so tempting. You know me, love me some Buddy Holly. What's with these homies dissing our girls? Why do they got a front? Ooh, and I know you're mine. Ooh, and I know you're mine. Ooh, and that's why I'm ooh, I look just like Buddy Holly. Oh, and you're married Tyler Moore. I don't care what they say about us anyway. I don't care about that. Wham, bam, knock on the floor. I'm down on the floor. What's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter, you? What's the matter, babe? I'm feeling blue. All right, Austin. I know. Can never be as good as Rivers Cuomo. Austin, why are you dressed like this? Well, I'm going to testify in front of the Missouri Senate today in favor of abolishing Missouri's income tax. That's why. I'd rather be in a t-shirt and shorts. But we must do what we must do, Cecilia. We must stand and we must fight for our rights, because if we do not fight for our rights, we shall lose them. Let me ask you a question. Are you with me? Let me ask you to do something for me. If you think that Missouri should abolish its income tax, I want to see some gall darn American flags in that Rumble comment section right now. I want to see some American flags, baby. Flag it up. Flaggots. I want to see some American flags in there if you're with me in the For Liberty Network and abolishing the Missouri income tax. People think I'm going to be crazy today, and maybe I will be. You'll never know. Always keep them guessing. What am I going to say today when I show up and stand up, fight for our rights, not be taxed? We hate taxes. All my homies hate taxes. Show me some American flags in the comment section if you hate taxes. Now, Austin's got to take some time out of his day to go fight for all of our rights, so why don't you head on over to forlibertyshop.com. Show me you love me, baby. How much you love me. No, but seriously, it does help for the pay and time and extra money that I got to spend to go do this. This is why normal people can't do this stuff. You got to send me Han Solo with my little Wookiee I'm bringing in today. He is like Wookiee size. Colton's going with me today. He's as tall as Chewbacca. I kid you not. New guy. He's my bodyguard today if the Democrats try and murder me. Anyways, all this to say, guys, that is why I'm dressed up today. I'm fighting for abolishing Missouri's income tax. Who knows what'll happen when Daddy steps into the room. Support the For Liberty Network and our fight for your rights. When you go to forlibertyshop.com, if you make a purchase during this live stream, if you're hearing my voice right now live and you're one of the first people to hear it this morning, then head over to forlibertyshop.com or just drop a Rumble rant. Damn it. Just $5 in the tip jar. The truth of the matter is, if I don't ask, I won't receive. And somebody said the other day, they said, your show is like an infomercial, Austin. And I get it, but you know what? You're not paying my bills. So I have to sell things. And look at me. You know what the nice thing is? And I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back too much here, guys. First of all, the shop is friggin' awesome. But secondly, don't you realize that this is how I could keep all the nasty, scummy marketers, the people who are selling crap and who want me to hawk their stupid shit that doesn't work, or penis pills, or, you know, I mean, listen, guys, in order to like have a free voice in this community, what I'm building, the For Liberty Network, in order to have a free voice without like parasites coming in and trying to like say, oh, well, here's $25,000 or $50,000 to sell penis pills. And trust me, people offer that kind of stuff to me. And I have to turn it down because my conscience I just can't. So you have to understand that people make fun of like the merch shop. They're like, oh, Austin, yeah, everybody's got a coffee, everybody's a merch shop. You don't understand. Like, this is so important to create financially independent institutions so that I don't owe anybody anything, guys. And when you hear me say my opinion on something, you can be sure that I believe what I'm saying. I can say unpopular things, okay? And that is true. That is the case right now for a lot of these influencers that you see who do shows. Like, your eyes may gloss over when you see it, but hopefully the products are so sweet and so cherry that you will love to buy them. But just remember that when you do, you're creating independent institutions in the United States that can actually make a difference and have free voices. And the truth is, in other countries, they don't have things like this. They don't. I'm talking to people from Japan. I'm talking to people in Argentina. I'm talking to people in Venezuela. I'm talking to people who are from Cuba. I'm telling you that like our engine of American capitalism, commerce, it is our liberty. It truly is. That's why the commies hate it. But you can't hate on the merchandise crowd, even though it's not as sexy as like selling an iPhone or something like that, because even U2, Sonny, what's his name, or the guy Bono or whatever the flip from U2 says that sadly, the way that most people in the third world can climb out of poverty is through commerce. No, not commerce. People hate the merchant class. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to represent my country by selling beautiful patriotic products designed by my smoking hot redheaded libertarian wife. This is what America's meant to be. So drop some money in and help us unlock that bonus content. Looks like somebody headed over to forlibertyshop.com. Andy, you sexy man. Oh, dude, you bought it before I did. He bought it before I did. All right, I'm going to get off of this in just a second, but I asked Stephanie to make this for me special. The Colonial Soldier cost, because I needed one for barbecuing. Look at this. Yes! Tell me you don't want this, guys. This is the grill and apron. So Colonial Soldier costume apron, Revolutionary War kitchen apron. Guys, look at this stinking thing Stephanie made. It's so freaking good. The Colonial Soldier costume apron, Revolutionary War kitchen apron, only at forlibertyshop.com. Nobody else is crazy enough to come up with this stuff. And thank you to Andy Opperman, who just bought the first one. I'm guessing I will be the second, but if not, then you guys go ahead and head on over there this morning and let's unlock that sweet, sweet bonus content. We got 15 minutes. All right. AP, why are you dressed up? So the Missouri House of Representatives vote happened 98-54, party line almost perfect. And with that vote in the Capitol building of a state that most coastal media types couldn't find on a map, something historic has just happened. Something that hasn't happened in this country in a long time. Missouri is voting to ask people whether they want to abolish the state income tax entirely. Not cut it, not trim it, abolish it. Zero, gone. By 2032, House Speaker John Petersen, Republican from Lee Summit, stood on the floor and said something that should be printed on a billboard and driven slowly past every state house in America. He said, a lot of times they ask with their feet, they move, they go to different places. And that's it. And that is the whole argument. A century of migration data summarized in 2 sentences by a state legislator right here in Missouri. People vote with their feet, and for decades, they've been voting against these high-tax states. And for decades, the Democrats have been pretending not to notice. Well, Missouri, we're done pretending. We're ready to fight. The high-tax states have spent decades running this game plan, and the low-tax states have been running it too. So here's why this matters, whether you live in Jefferson City or Jacksonville or Jersey City, because what's happening in our state house right now today is not just a Missouri story. It is the opening shot of a national tax revolt. And on the other side of that revolt, sitting in her office in Albany, is a governor who just told the world she's driving to Palm Beach to beg millionaires to come back. That's your 2 visions of America. 2 futures playing out in real time right now. So let's talk about what Missouri's actually done, because the March 12th vote is not where this story starts. The groundwork goes back for years, and the trajectory is pretty breathtaking. 10 years ago, the top income tax rate in Missouri was 6%. So through a decade of disciplined and patient, principled legislating, Missouri conservatives have cut that rate 5 consecutive times. We fight here in Missouri. We can't get everything all at once. It now sits at 4.7%, and we're not done yet, right? We're never going to be done because we understand something that most politicians never figure out, that every cut is a step, and every step builds momentum, and momentum builds futures. Then came July 11th, 2025. Governor Mike Kehoe signed House Bill 594, and with his signature, Missouri became the first state in the entire country to completely eliminate the tax on capital gains. We're the first. Boom! Shakalaka. First in the nation. Now, New York was begging millionaires to come back. Missouri is now building a state millionaires might actually want to come to. It's beautiful. Visit the lovely Table Rock Lake. I have a friend there. I will recommend him to you. Just be careful if you go out with his dad on a boat, okay? Just keep an eye on the wheel. Kehoe said it pretty plain at the signing. Conservative leadership is about keeping more money in the hands of Missouri families and less in government coffers. Today, we're protecting the people who make Missouri, the people who work, the people who have families, job creators, small business owners. Me. Well, thank you. This governor's turned out a lot better than you expect. But the crown jewel, the thing that puts Missouri in the conversation with Florida and Texas and Tennessee, other than our excellent pandemic governance, is what happened next. Governor Kehoe made income tax elimination his top legislative priority for 2026. The entire Missouri GOP Executive Council voted unanimously to support going from 4.7% all the way to zero. Zero income tax right here in Missouri, and there is a plan to get there. And pay attention, the mechanism in this is brilliant. And it's the antidote to critics who say you cannot do this without blowing up the budget. The constitutional amendment that passed the House says this: for every $20 million in revenue growth above the baseline, the top income tax rate gets cut by 0.01%. The tax elimination is funded by the economic growth that it creates. So the state cannot cut faster than it grows. It's not reckless. It's structured. It's disciplined. It's exactly the opposite of how New York runs its budget, which is spend more than you take in and hope the rich stay put. If voters approve this amendment, and the vote will come this year in August or November, Missouri's income tax could be zero by 2032. 6 years. That's the timeline. And in those 6 years, if Florida and Texas and Tennessee are any indication, what happens next will shock the people who said it could not be done. Missouri, we're going to show me. Show me the money. Click that like button if you like it. Click the follow button if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show. If you'd like to get in touch with us for any reason, you can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We got some great guests coming up for you here on the Wake Up America show. Okay, after a late night in the Senate, the income tax hearing has been pushed back to 10:45 a.m. in Senate Room 1. Okay, good. First floor when you come in to your right. Okay, I will be there. That's where I'll be today. People, when you tell them, oh, Missouri's got a chance to abolish the income tax, they're like, oh, has any state actually done this? Yes. Oh, Austin is just libertarian daydreaming. No, I'm glad you asked about this. 9 states right now have no personal income tax. Alaska, Florida, Nevada, New Hampshire, lucky sons of guns, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, Wyoming. 9 states. Here's what they have in common. They're growing. Florida and Texas led the entire country in raw population gain. Hundreds of thousands of new residents have been going in every year. Not retirees that are just looking for warm weather, young workers, entrepreneurs, financial services professionals, tech workers, people who build things and employ people and pay sales taxes and property taxes and drive local economies. The White House Council of Economic Advisors published a report in January of 2026 They looked at the data on every no income tax state in America, and they found that 5 of the 9 no income tax states rank in the top 10 states in the country for GDP growth over the past decade. 4 of them rank in the top 10 for net migration rates. So this isn't just cherry-picked data, guys. This is a system. Low taxes attract people. Investment grows economies. And grown economies generate more revenue without raising rates. Duh. Gosh, we're going to run out of time. Have we unlocked the bonus content yet? Are we getting close? Ooh, boy, halfway there. Way to go, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that generosity. I'm going to have to skip ahead here because we've got a couple of guests coming up and it's almost 8 a.m. Can you believe it? This morning's been flying by. I've been having a blast. And as soon as this show's over, I'm heading over to state capitol to go testify demons. Okay, there we go. We're ready for the next one. Okay. So I've got to run to a break. We don't have the bonus content just yet, but we're almost there, guys. So now that we do that, we're going to do some commercials before I go to my next guest. But before we do, now's a great time to head to forlibertyshop.com. I heard that, Lukey boy. We've got a lot more coming, okay? Don't go away, Luke. The MAGA coalition is in a full internal brawl. Tucker, Megan, Bannon, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey, all named in a viral message because apparently Daily Mail dropped a story about Kristi Noem's husband. We can't fully describe. What are the midterms going to look like for Republicans? It's a mess. It's the Wake Up America show, and you're watching the For Liberty Network. In a city where businesses never sleep, the technology still crashes. When technology turns criminal, they send up the signal. He's not a myth, and he's definitely not your nephew who knows computers. He installs, he protects, he backs it up. He keeps your business online and out of trouble. Managed IT, security, cloud, support that actually answers the phone. Layer 8 tech. When your network breaks, he wakes. Call Drew before your tech needs a rescue signal. George Washington spent 8 years making sure nobody knew where he was. Troop movements, secret dispatches. The man was a ghost. So when a barista leaned out a window and asked for his exact location in exchange for points they called stars, he looked at his flag and said, "I've already got my stars. 13 of them." Keep your dignity and your location intact. Grab a box of Washington's Revolutionary Roast at forlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than
Well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian. And
always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
And what is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
The left in America tells us not to have kids to save the planet, but in Cuba, they stopped having kids because the state destroyed the earth.
Collectivism doesn't create justice. It creates shortages, corruption, and power for the few. I've not just seen it, I've lived it. My family escaped it. Now, the same failed ideas are being sold to a new generation. I'm here to expose the lie and defend liberty. From Cuba to Argentina to the United States, the freedom movement is rising. Cafecito Libre is the exile voice of economic truth. Cafecito Libre, premiering March 3rd as part of the For Liberty Network, only on Rumble.
Imagine bringing George Washington back to life. Just to explain that in 2025, men can get pregnant, waving an American flag might offend someone, and our government is $34 trillion in debt. But that's not all, George. We have drag queen story hour for toddlers, pronouns are mandatory, and Harvard can't define woman. Oh. And we send billions to Ukraine but can't fix potholes in Ohio. You know, just normal modern empire stuff. I'm sure he'd be totally cool with it. Right after he finishes reloading. He didn't cross the Delaware for this nonsense, but you can carry on the fight with gear that would have made King George cry. Shop bold, shop free, shop4libertyshop.com. In the fortress town of Magdeburg, Prussia, on September 17, 1730, a boy entered the world destined to whip a ragged rebel army into a fighting force that could stand against the might of Britain. Friedrich Wilhelm Ludolf Gerhard Augustin von Steuben, later known to Americans as Baron von Steuben, was the son of a Royal Prussian military engineer. At 17, he joined the Prussian army, fought like a demon through the brutal 7 Years' War under Frederick the Great, rose to captain, served on the general staff, and learned the iron discipline and precise maneuvers that made Prussian troops the terror of Europe. Wounds, scandals, and peacetime left him unemployed and nearly broke by his mid-40s. But across the Atlantic, a revolution was calling. In 1777, with help from Benjamin Franklin in Paris, the out-of-work Prussian officer offered his sword to the American cause. He sailed from France in September aboard a ship paid for by the French government, bringing his Italian greyhound Azor, a French cook, aids, and a burning desire for glory and pay after the war. He landed in Portsmouth, New Hampshire in December, then made his way south through cheering crowds who saw in him a polished European general. On February 23, 1778, the stocky, fur-robed baron rode into the frozen hell of Valley Forge. What he found horrified him. Nearly 12,000 Continental soldiers huddled in crude log huts, half-naked, starving, dying of disease and exposure. No uniform drill, no standard commands, no sanitation, no discipline. Muskets were handled like farm tools, bayonets were decoration. Men drilled according to 3 different manuals, or not at all. Washington greeted the volunteer warmly and made him temporary Inspector General. Steuben wasted no time. He chose 100 of the smartest, toughest men from the Commander-in-Chief's Guard and began drilling them personally on the snowy parade ground. No translator could keep up with his thunderous Prussian oaths, so he swore in French, German, and broken English while his aides translated. He simplified the manual of arms from dozens of complex movements to just 10 essential ones. He taught them to march in step at 120 paces per minute, to load and fire faster, to form lines and columns instantly, and, most importantly, to charge with the bayonet like Prussian veterans. He cursed, demonstrated, laughed, raged, and drilled until the model company moved like one machine. Then he sent them out to train the rest of the army in cascading waves. Day after day through snow and mud, the baron stomped across the frozen fields, sleeves rolled up, showing officers and enlisted men alike how real soldiers fought. He also attacked the filth and waste that killed more men than British bullets. He laid out proper camp sanitation, reorganized supply lines, and wrote the first standard regulations for the Continental Army. With help from aides like Pierre Duponceau and Benjamin Walker, and illustrations by Pierre-Charles L'Enfant, he produced regulations for the order and discipline of the troops of the United States, the famous Blue Book. Congress approved it in 1779, and it guided the U.S. Army through the War of 1812. The results came fast. In May 1778, the Army paraded smartly to celebrate the French alliance. When they marched out of Valley Forge in June, they were no longer a mob of farmers, they were soldiers. At the Battle of Monmouth on June 28th, the disciplined Continentals stood toe-to-toe with British regulars in brutal heat, trading volleys and charges that would have broken the old army. Steuben's bayonet training proved decisive later at Stony Point, where American troops stormed British works with unloaded muskets and cold steel alone. Steuben served as Inspector General and Washington's trusted advisor for the rest of the war. He trained troops in the South under Nathaniel Greene, commanded a division at the Siege of Yorktown in 1781, and watched Cornwallis's redcoats march out to surrender. His steady hand helped turn raw courage into professional victory. After the war, Congress granted him land and a modest pension, but never the fortune he hoped for. He retired to a farm in the Mohawk Valley of New York, never married, and died there on November 28, 1794. He was buried with military honors. Baron von Steuben was no flawless saint and no towering battlefield hero. He swore like a Prussian drill sergeant, exaggerated his rank for dramatic effect, and loved the good life. But when the American army was on the brink of collapse in that frozen winter of 1778, this stout, fiery European volunteer marched onto the parade ground, cursed in 3 languages, and forged a rabble into an army. From the snows of Valley Forge to the smoke of Yorktown, his Blue Book and iron discipline helped win a revolution and gave the United States its first professional military foundation. The drill echoes still. Every time an American soldier snaps to attention or charges with the bayonet, the ghost of the old Prussian baron is marching right beside him.
George Washington spent 8 years making sure nobody knew where he was. Troop movements, secret dispatches. The man was a ghost. So when a barista leaned out a window and asked for his exact location in exchange for points they called stars, he looked at his flag and said, "I've already got my stars. 13 of them." Keep your dignity and your location intact. Grab a box of Washington's Revolutionary Roast at forlibertyshop.com.
In a city where businesses never sleep, the technology still crashes. When technology turns criminal, they send up the signal. He's not a myth, and he's definitely not your nephew who knows computers. He installs, he protects, he backs it up, he keeps your business online and out of trouble. Managed IT, security, cloud, support that actually answers the phone. Layer 8 tech. When your network breaks, he wakes. Call Drew before your tech needs a rescue signal. Patriots, listen up. The sun's out, the shades are on, and the Gulf of America is wide open for business. This summer, don't show up to the beach looking like a landlocked liberal. Gear up with the Gulf of America collection. Towels, tumblers, shirts, hats, fanny packs, because nothing says freedom like cannonballing into liberty with style. Whether you're grilling burgers, catching waves, or just flexing on social media, do it draped in stars, stripes, and pure American greatness. The Gulf of America isn't just a place, it's a lifestyle. Hit forlibertyshop.com and roll into summer like the Founding Fathers just handed you the keys to the coast. Beaches, BBQs, and bald eagles approved. You should too. Head over to forlibertyshop.com and get your Gulf of America gear. Summer is coming fast. That's forlibertyshop.com. This summer isn't about sunscreen and safe spaces. It's about liberty, laughs, and looking like a red, white, and righteous badass. Welcome to the Summer of Freedom collection. Beach towels bold enough to trigger a liberal arts professor. Tank tops louder than a 4th of July fireworks finale. And mugs that scream, "Don't tread on my caffeine." Whether you're storming the sandbar or just grilling like George Washington with a Bluetooth speaker, this is the gear that lets everyone know. You're not here to play woke. You're here to play cornhole with conviction. So crack open a cold one, fire up the freedom, and rock the merch that makes communists cry. The Summer of Freedom is here, and it's absolutely unapologetic.
Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? You're running low on soldiers, and then you tell us, "I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this."
June 6th, tomorrow, this is D-Day anniversary, when the Americans once ended a war in Europe.
That was not a pleasant day for you?
No, that was not a pleasant.
This is not a great day. If you believe that, it's okay with me. Rigged election.
All right, Tiffany Savage is not here. What do you do when your guest disappears? You book them. You go through all the process. You force all these people to watch commercials and old bonus content while you hope that they unlock the new stuff. You write a new segment. March 19th, 2026, Rogers Park, Chicago. Past midnight, 6 freshman students leave a Loyola University dorm and they walk to Toby Prinz Beach to take photos and look at the city skyline. Now, Sheridan Gorman is 18 years old at this time. He's a freshman from Yorktown, New York. Her family says she made people feel seen, that she always had a smile, that she gave her love freely to everyone that she met. She and her friends walk out toward a lighthouse pier. She's the first to reach it. Waiting behind the lighthouse, dressed in all black, including a black ski mask, is a 25-year-old Venezuelan national named Jose Medina, armed with a .40 caliber handgun. Sheridan sees him. She turns. She whispers to her friends, someone is behind the lighthouse. Medina jumps out. The group runs. Medina fires once. The bullets hit Sheridan in the upper left back. Her friends run for cover behind a concrete barrier. They watch as Medina slowly paces back and forth on the pier. When he walks away, they go back to check on Sheridan. They find her bleeding and unresponsive. They call 911. Sheridan Gorman was pronounced dead at the scene. Jose Medina was first apprehended by U.S. Border Patrol on May 9th, 2023, and released into the country under the Biden administration. He was then arrested for shoplifting in Chicago in June of 2023 and released again. He failed to appear for that warrant. An arrest warrant was then issued. That warrant was still active when Sheridan Gorman walked onto the pier. 2 arrests, 2 releases, active warrants, and Sheridan Gorman is dead. The Gorman family statement said, Sheridan was our daughter. She was 18 years old. She was doing something completely, entirely normal, walking near her campus with friends. She should still be here. Now, the Gorman family has reportedly said they don't want their daughter's death used as a political weapon, and we're going to honor that by doing the opposite of what every news channel did. We're not just going to light the outrage signal and move on. Let's think about what this story means, because the honest answer is messier and more important than anyone really is ready to admit. And on that note, the Loyola University student paper, the Loyola Phoenix, published an editor's note last week apologizing. For what? For calling Jose Medina an illegal immigrant. I'm not kidding. This is true. Saying that the language does not align with AP style and acknowledging the harm such language can cause. A student newspaper apologized for accurately describing the immigration status of the man charged with murdering one of their own students because the words might cause harm. The words didn't cause harm. The bullets did. The policy did. The 2 releases did. The Biden administration did. But thank God the campus paper got the language right? So we're going to do something genuinely unusual in podcasting. I'm going to tell you what Americans actually believe about immigration, not what our politicians tell us to believe. A new Wall Street Journal piece and a stack of polling data tells a story nobody in Washington wants you to hear. Okay? What Democrats broke, and here's why it matters. June 27, 2019, Democratic presidential debate. 10 candidates standing on a stage. The moderator asks, raise your hand if your health care plan would cover undocumented immigrants. All 10 hands go up. Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, every single one of them. 5 years later, Trump still receives stronger marks than Democrats on border security and immigration in national polling. Even as his own numbers have cratered, NBC News reported how bad it was. The 2019 to 2023 Democratic brand disaster was so disastrous, they poisoned the well so thoroughly that even after Trump's own immigration numbers fall apart, Democrats still can't fully catch up. So how did this happen? The Democratic Party spent 3 years telling the American people that wanting a secure border made you a racist, that calling an illegal immigrant was somehow an act of violence, that enforcement was cruelty, that anyone who noticed the border was broken, of course, was probably a white nationalist. No, I'm sorry, libertarian nationalist, please. Thank you. And the American people, including a lot of Hispanic Americans, looked at all of this and they said, oh, no, thank you. Pew Research Center confirmed Trump won 48% of Latino voters in 2024, up from 36% in 2020. That is a 12-point swing in 4 years. The best performance by a Republican presidential candidate among Latinos in modern history. Ay, por Dios. Yo voy a votar for poor Donald Trump. So, working on my Spanish. La buena vida, la economía por Trump. Hazlo por tu familia, Latinos por Donald Trump. So the party that spent years claiming that they were protecting Hispanic Americans from the GOP drove nearly half of Hispanic voters into Donald Trump's coalition. That wasn't just a messaging failure, guys. That was a policy failure, and those are different things. Barton Swaim over at the Wall Street Journal published a piece that said, he pointed out that a centrist Democratic think tank called Searchlight Institute just published a report telling Democrats they have to wake up. Its polling found something that should not be surprising, but apparently is surprising. Republicans, Democrats, and independents, all of them support robust border enforcement. All of them. They also value legal immigration and all of that. And most of them believe a path to legal status for long-term residents who haven't committed crimes is reasonable. In other words, the American people figured this out already. The politicians are the last to arrive. Duh. So the lesson from this, Democrats are painfully learning, is that you cannot build a coalition, a governing coalition, on the premise that enforcement is evil, borders are racist, and that anyone who disagrees is a fascist. The voters are going to fire you, and in 2024, they did. So Republicans, if you think that you're going to get away with not looking at your poll numbers as well on this and some of the issues that you guys are facing, you're wrong. So voters wanted the borders secured. They wanted the chaos to end. They wanted someone to actually do something. They did give Trump a mandate, and then the administration went to work. And then somewhere between secure the border and the current reality, they flew past the mandate and went going. A new ABC Ipsos poll found 58% of Americans say Trump has gone too far in deporting undocumented immigrants, which is a rise of 8 points in a few months. So that's a question for how do we deal with something like that? Faith Daily says, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light. Let's spread his word together. Well, thank you for coming and evangelizing. We're so grateful to have you here. We're proud to live in America where you're free, where at least I know I'm free, and you can evangelize and protestalize all you wish. Come and sup with us. Don't just use us as an advertising hub. Sit down, Faith Daily, and introduce yourself. How's I giving a shit's doing? M. Osborne, illegal alien, get him out of here. Some squirrely white guy walked up to a bunch of black guys and told them they were foot soldiers of a fascist regime. Beyond parody, this kind of stuff.
No thoughts. You guys are the foot soldiers of a fascist regime, right? Is that not what it is? Is that funny? Is that funny?
Yeah, it is funny. I thought it was pretty funny. This squirrely little white guy walking up with these big black dudes. ICE officers. So Trump's approval on immigration has dropped to 44% approve, 53% disapprove. The latest numbers show the deportation policy sits at 42% and 54% border security. The specific issue he rode to victory is his positive immigration issue at 50% approve versus 46% disapprove. So the American people are capable of distinctions, apparently. Republicans in Washington should probably notice that. The NBC poll also found more than half of voters have a slightly negative views of ICE, probably because they didn't, people are squeamish and squirrely when they see those shootings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. I didn't particularly feel that way, but essentially, there we go. Boom. Boom. Don't hurt. Sorry, guys. Just dealing with a little back end stuff here. So, how do we solve it? Is the most interesting part of the show when I'm like screwing up or something? So coming up in a few minutes, we're going to have Maggie Onders to talk about why on America's 250th anniversary, why she's proud to be an American. And if that sounds like something that should be obvious to you, well, you don't know what it's like to live in this person's world.
We are going to fight back. I am angry because of who will pay the price for this. It will not be wealthy. We are going to fight back.
Remember, they hate us. They hate everything we stand for. They'll take everything that we have if we let them, but I don't plan on letting them. This is my country. Coming up, a woman who chose America and who looks at a generation of Americans who are falling all over themselves to apologize for being an American. And she, as a young person, has something to say about it. We'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb tail. Watch out for the back end stuff, AP. Hey, you, unlock that back end stuff. Go to forlibertyshop.com, guys. Get our Colonial Soldier barbecue grilling apron. We'll be right back.
In a city where businesses never sleep, the technology still crashes. When technology turns criminal, they send up the signal. He's not a myth, and he's definitely not your nephew who knows computers. He installs, he protects, he backs it up, he keeps your business online and out of trouble. Managed IT, security, cloud, support that actually answers the phone. Layer 8 tech. When your network breaks, he wakes. Call Drew before your tech needs a rescue signal.
George Washington spent 8 years making sure nobody knew where he was. Troop movements, secret dispatches. The man was a ghost. So when a barista leaned out a window and asked for his exact location in exchange for points they called stars, he looked at his flag and said, "I've already got my stars. 13 of them. Keep your dignity and your location intact. Grab a box of Washington's Revolutionary Roast at forlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than
Well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian.
It always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative so-called is the one that says less government. Get off my back.
Welcome back to the Wake Up America Show. I'm your host, Austin Petersen. This year, America turns 250 years old. And instead of celebrating, a large chunk of America's population is just pouring self-hatred all over their bodies. American self-hatred is a blight on this country, says my next guest. Only great nations become so self-critical. Now that we're approaching the 250th anniversary of our founding, it's important to remember why we're awesome. My next guest is Maggie Moda. She's a former host and writer at the Foundation for Economic Education, where she created the show Undoctrination. She's been a regional director for Young Americans for Liberty. She's been all over the place fighting for freedom. Maggie Moda, good to see you. Haven't talked to you in a while. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thanks so much for having me on again, Austin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Maggie, I have to admit that when I scroll my X timeline, I get so depressed. I mean, lately it's been nice because Japan has been getting along and it's been fun to watch Javier Milei winning. But it's like in our own country, we're surrounded by people, and especially I see the young people, and it's just nothing but hate for America, disdain for our legacy, ignorance about the 250th anniversary. But you're going against the grain. Why, Maggie? Why would you say something so controversial and yet so brave?
Well, I think, since it's the 250th birthday, maybe it's time we reflect on what makes our country so great and why we're so powerful and awesome. I think Americans have this rich kid syndrome. If you grew up in a small town like I did, the rich kids kind of hide that they're rich, right? And they feel a little ashamed about, having a nice house and having parents that have great jobs. And I think at least if you ever travel internationally, and I talk about this in the video that I posted, you'll find Americans that are pretending to not be American, that are trying to blend in. And once they get caught for being American, they're so apologetic and they talk so much nonsense about America to foreigners. And I think this is the wrong approach to have when you come from such a great country. I think a lot of people internationally would love to be in America. And so when they hear Americans speaking so poorly about their own country, it comes off as ungrateful.
I mean, it's deeply ungrateful, obviously. I mean, I can't say it because I'm old now. And so the young people are like, oh, this is just you saying, get off my line. I don't know if you happened to see this piece that was written by Bridget Fetisi the other day, where she was talking about why she wants young people why she wants to be left behind. And she was sort of explaining that a lot of these right-wing influencers who are like me, getting a little long in the tooth, that they really want the young people to like them. So they're flipping their positions on this or that. And it's kind of like, you need to just kind of stop and just let it go to some extent. I mean, get off my lawn is a strong impulse when you're old. But when you're young, Maggie, it's not the kind of thing that most people feel. Is there a get off my lawn energy here?
I mean, I think, being a libertarian philosophically, I have always had a little bit of that impulse. If I cared what other people thought about what I had to say, I would not be a libertarian. I'd be a leftist, frankly.
True.
So it's completely fine with me to go against the grain. What I think we're seeing online is teenager syndrome. When you're a teenager, you're questioning the world, you're pushing back against your parents who raised you. You're realizing that, oh my gosh, sometimes my parents don't know what they're talking about and they don't make the right decisions. And so you go from one extreme, which is adoration, to the other, which is total hatred and rebellion. And we're seeing that throughout the country with young people. And it doesn't matter if you're a leftist or if you're right wing. When I posted my video about, how we should stop being ashamed to be American, it was actually right-wingers who were in my replies telling me that we had so much to be ashamed about. I think if you created a word cloud for which words were used the most in my replies, Israel would be the biggest word. We have this Israel derangement syndrome that's happening on both the left and the right. And I think we need to calm down and remember what it is that we should be proud about. So one of the big things I mentioned in the video is that America exports most of the innovation and culture that transforms and unifies the world. About a year ago, I was in Tokyo at a sherry bar and met this woman from, I think, Hong Kong, and we bonded over Taylor Swift, right? You can go pretty much anywhere in the world, and if you say the name Taylor Swift, people know who you're talking about, right?
Taylor
America
Swift. Taylor.
Yes.
How do you say Taylor Swift in Japanese? It's like,
oh my gosh.
I only say that because I spent an inordinate amount of time learning how to say Donald Trump in Japanese, and it's Donald Trump. So so continue, please, Maggie, please.
Yes. So I mean, if you go anywhere in the world, people are talking about America, and sometimes that's derisively. They don't like what we're doing on the world stage, and there's fair criticisms to be had, but you can't deny that we simply are on top. There is no other nation in the world that is exporting innovation and culture like we are. So that's one big reason to be super proud to be an American, because you can go anywhere and people know the things that you grew up with as a child, right? If I go to Argentina, I don't know the shows that my cousins there grew up with, but they know the shows that I grew up with. They know Hannah Montana, right?
That's
they
a
all
really
go to
good
Disney
point.
World.
That's a great point, Maggie.
Yeah.
I mean, frankly, I only know one foreign show, and it's Squid Game, which is honestly, Squid Game was a really good show. But I mean, you got to have a level of greatness. You have to have a level of greatness that is just stratospheric to break into the American market because, well, frankly, we're the best it ever was.
Amen, amen. Well, speaking of South Korea, so that trip that I was in Tokyo, I also went to South Korea, and it was incredible how much they love America, because we're the reason they are not North Korea right now, right? And I think that experience shocked me because I had always seen America's presence around the globe as a very negative thing, but not everybody feels that it's very negative. We have, in some cases, promoted freedom, and that has meant something very, very powerful and special to people on the ground in those countries. The other reason I think we need to reflect on our values is because unlike other nations where, they have a very long shared cultural background, they have shared ancestry, we don't have that. But we do have shared values that brought all of our ancestors to this country. And those values of independence, of bravery, generosity, freedom seeking, those are the things that create the cultural bedrock on which this country was founded, and also how we talk about politics to this day. Even as our federal government grows larger and larger, we still have freedom and democracy as the baseline for when we have discussions. And that is very different from any other place in the world. And people to this day who come to America, a lot of them are coming here because they are not free back home. They cannot self-actualize. They can't become who they were really meant to be on this planet, whether it's because of violence and cartels or civil war or authoritarian governments. They come to America because the freedom here actually means something very tangible. It's not just this amorphous value that's, that doesn't really mean anything. It does mean something. It's why we produce most of the technological and cultural innovation that transforms the world, because we get to be exactly who we want to be. That freedom it's life-giving, right? It's why so many people would risk life and limb to come here, even if they're even risking being turned away at the door, right? That is very powerful. And because we are kind of separated from that impulse, because we were born here and maybe our families have been here for generation upon generation upon generation, we really take that for granted and don't understand how valuable that is to the human spirit.
Maggie, I love hearing you say all this stuff. I can listen to you say it all day long. It sounds like common sense, but for some people, this is revolutionary, right? These are the first time that they're going to hear these points of view, because each generation, we're only one generation away from extinction of our liberty and our rights, because people, what might sound like something that you've heard a million times before at a libertarian conference or what have you, these people, they need to hear it. And I'm so glad when I saw your video, I was just like, yes, because I mean, without going too much down a rabbit hole here, I feel like really the modern liberty movement, especially in the United States, is very black-pilled and it's very doomer and it's very left-wing coded, not just in like the social issue thing where, like libertarians like weed and sex and drugs, but I really feel like it's kind of infected the foreign policy question. And like a lot of libertarians are now, they're calling me a neocon because, say, for example, that liberty that you talked about that South Korea experienced was a result of American intervention. It was a result of Douglas MacArthur fighting at the port of Incheon and demanding, demanding that they not retreat. The Americans were losing the war in Korea. They were driven off the peninsula. They had to come back and then go across these mud flats to make it to create the modern system that we have now. I mean, it's a tenuous system, and North Korea is a dictator, sure, but look at what South Korea has done. Given us an example of capitalism versus communism. Am I a neocon? Am I a neocon, Maggie, for admitting that like it's a wonderful thing that MacArthur managed to create South Korea through his military actions? Would I prefer it to have been done through puppies and rainbows and gift baskets? Sure,
of course.
So is this a neocon thing or is this a reality thing?
I just think these labels are increasingly becoming useless, right? Because those of us who contend with reality and want to understand the way the world actually works are increasingly finding labels to not fit us. Like I increasingly find myself being politically homeless, not being able to safely and comfortably fit myself into a box. And listen, Austin, both of us are very interested in Argentina and the libertarian experiment there. They are not isolationist in the slightest. Because, for America to be truly isolationist, it would take every other power also being isolationist. The thing that makes us different is that we have great values, that we do want to allow people to self-actualize. We do want freedom for people. Have we always acted in a way that aligns with our values? Absolutely not. Has America done horrible, unspeakable things? Of course we have. But there is a difference between our values that we want to promote on the world stage and those of, the CCP.
But yes, Maggie,
right?
this is a moral equivalence discussion here. So when you say, has America failed to live up to its values, you're talking about, hundreds of years ago we had slavery. Oh, in the 1960s we had to fix some stuff with civil rights, which we did, by the way. But we're not talking about too many in the modern right-wing libertarian space are they make a moral equivalency between the United States and Germany and Japan in World War II, where it's Winston Churchill was actually the aggressor and the bad guy, and he built up all this shit. But here's the thing. There's no scale. Did we put Japanese people in camps in the United States? Yes. Was it a crime? Yes. But wait, what did Japan do? Japan subjected people to ice experiments. Germany sliced up babies. I mean, they committed real serious war crimes. So there's no moral equivalence here. But I feel like we're having this fight on the right, Maggie, and it's spread to people like Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's this Israel derangement thing where the foreign policy has become this bizarro world where it's we're so anti-war that Hitler was just trying to defend his people from the evil tyrannical typical imperial American FDR, and that Hitler had a few points, actually. I mean, have you seen it descend into this level of bizarre bombacity?
100%, to the point where you can hardly have a rational discussion with people anymore, because it goes beyond just, wishing America wouldn't constantly send money to foreign countries and engage in these forever wars, which I totally agree with, right? I totally agree with that. It goes far beyond that into, America is actually worse than all of these aggressors on the world stage, and siding with the aggressors. And so I just, I think people have totally lost the plot. I want to ask these people, like, exactly what makes you a conservative, right? Like, exactly what makes you right wing? Because it's not just that they no longer side with American values on the international stage, but they also are abandoning free market principles. A lot of these people want socialized healthcare. So exactly what are you conserving?
Amen. Amen, Maggie. No, it's a mess. And, and I'm fighting the good fight, and I'm looking at trying to take a new movement in a new direction. I don't care if there's dozens of us, Maggie, but there's got to be a better way. And I really appreciate your timeline. I've got notifications turned on for you over on X, and so should everybody else. Do it right now. But I really appreciate when you say things like, I don't owe anybody my thoughts or my beliefs. My beliefs are my own, and I'm allowed to change my mind if I encounter new information that contradicts what I used to believe. And I was very cultish, Maggie, as a young in a way. I was very much caught up in a wave. And there were a lot of psychological pressures that make you feel a certain way, or that you support a certain politician a certain way. But I just really do not feel the same way that I did when I was 27, 26 years old. I'm 45 now. I'm a husband and a father. And there are different pressures in my life. And I also, I think, see a little bit more of the bigger picture. I'm an extreme individualist, but I really think that that those ideas can be filtered through the lens of the United States of America as a country, as a nation. And I think maybe you agree broadly?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I love my country because my country's foundational values are my values, for one. But also I love my country because my ancestors were part of building this nation, right? And I can take pride in that. Like I love how big and powerful we've become, like how we have uplifted the living standards of people around the globe, not through foreign aid, but just by inventing products that make life easier.
Like wheat.
Right? That is something to be proud of.
Like giant grains of wheat that were bioengineered to be enormous so everybody could have bread. I think it was something like 1 billion lives. I read something like 1 billion lives had been saved since liberalism and international free market capitalism had come to some of these countries. And you know what, Maggie? I think a lot of people, and I think, Trumpism to some extent, it can be explained by a little bit of like, especially with his view on NATO and they should step up and pay more. That Trumpism is America being sick of being called racist, colonizing imperialists, while we feed the world and pay for their defense. So I feel like Trump, in some sense, there's a libertarian impulse to Trumpism in that, hey, if Europe wants to pay for if Europe needs defense, Europe needs to step up and pay for its defense. And if the world wants access to our markets, if the world wants access to our businesses or our trade, they need to be nice to us and play nice with us. And Trump, he's nice to Argentina and Javier Milei, which a lot of people don't understand, but it makes perfect sense to me. Does the Trump-Javier Milei bromance, does that make sense to you?
It's so funny because the first time I encountered this, I was in Argentina talking with Milei supporters about Milei, and they mentioned that, the movement for Trump is so similar. And at first it really shocked me because, I'm very anti-tariff. I'm very pro-free trade. I've seen the consequences of protectionism in Argentina. I mean, truly go to Argentina and try to buy an outfit. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is a nightmare. It is so expensive and the quality is so terrible. And I know that Milei is now fixing these problems that made daily life, kind of intolerable for people in Argentina. But it shocked me that a person like Milei, who really understands free market capitalism, could ally with a Donald Trump. And then I realized that it's really about this spirit of, not apologizing, of, recognizing the greatness of your country, of being very pro-enterprise. I think the Milei movement allies with Donald Trump because he also had to defeat an establishment. So really it's about being anti-establishment, not about becoming protectionist, because Milei is not a protectionist in the slightest.
Well, I see an opportunity, Maggie. I see so much opportunity ahead for people like us, because the Trump phenomenon being what it is, he has a complete stranglehold on the party. He defines what MAGA is. But there will be a day when Donald Trump is not the one calling the shots. And when that day comes, everybody's going to try and define what that nationalist, right-wing, pro-America movement's ideals, foundational ideals will be, the foundation of the future. And I want to be a part of that, because I want to be a part of defining that, not because I think libertarians and free trade can necessarily take over and win everything in every election, but because I think we could probably have more of a say than we have now. And I think that the party who is in the national interest is always going to win. The people who are pro-America are always going to win. That's why I was shocked in 2016 when I ran for president as a libertarian. I was the only candidate waving American flags, the only one who was like, we're running for president of the United States of America. Yeah, this isn't just a thing for our own political party. We're doing this for the country, right? This isn't just about us and our little small team. This is about liberty for everyone, right? But I mean, there is this sort of looking at the world through a lens, an ideological lens, that I guess I don't really feel serves us so much anymore. And I wonder what you think, and I know I don't have a whole lot more time, but I wonder what you think of this war that is exploded into the open between, say, Rand Paul and Thomas Massey and Donald Trump, because quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I don't want to call the president a pedophile, because he's not. And I hate all this Epstein stuff because it's toxic and it's poison and it attracts the lowest IQ of people to it for numbers of reasons. So how do you feel about this libertarian war on Trump as it stands?
I think libertarians in Congress have to pick their battles. I personally think the Epstein files was like a valuable battle to pick because, well, for one, Epstein, that whole movement came out of Trump's movement, the movement to release the files. So it was kind of shocking to see the 180. I think even if Massey hadn't been at the forefront of it, it would have happened regardless, because there was so much built up around it, if that makes sense. Like there was a lot of political pressure coming from voters. And so it was kind of shocking to me when Trump didn't, like he did a 180 and was like, no, this doesn't matter. Like clearly it does matter. And so for me, I think, when you're a child, your life is spent in exploration, but also adoration of authority figures. When you're a teenager, you start to question that. You go the very opposite direction where everything is terrible. You develop this very critical lens. This is when people become atheists, right? But then in your 20s and 30s and 40s, you start to mature and you learn how to bring these two worldviews together. And I think the American libertarian movement needs to learn how to do that on the America question, right? Yes, there are things to criticize about America and our government and how big it's gotten, right? But at the same time, the foundations of our movement were birthed out of the foundations of this country.
Amen.
There's a lot to love. There's a lot to be grateful for and to praise, and we can do both at the same time.
I don't think I know anybody who could have brought that all together like that, like you did, Maggie Moda. You got a lot of talent, girl. Where can people follow you online and find those great videos like the ones that I watched that started this segment?
Yeah, so you can follow me on X or Twitter, whichever you prefer, at Maggie Moda. You can find me on Instagram at maggiemoda.ig, YouTube at Maggie Moda YT, Maggie Moda on TikTok. You know, I'm there across platforms. You can find me on Facebook at Maggie Moda. I'm trying to build up my Facebook presence now. I definitely got a lot of backlash from boomers in the comments on this video on Facebook, which was kind of funny.
Oh God, I know. Hey, yeah. Facebook, surprisingly, as much as the pain is in the butt as Facebook is, it is still surprisingly useful for getting your message out there. So we appreciate it. We'll follow you.
Totally.
We'll follow you on Facebook like it's 15 years ago. Okay, Maggie. you rock, Maggie. Thanks so much for your time. We'll talk again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin.
Bye.
Bye.
I want to be quite frank with you here. If the British withdraw, I'm prepared to go on with the Australians and the New Zealanders, but I'm not prepared to go on with the Americans.
Why not, Mr. Prime Minister? Why do you think America...
Well, can I put it this way? I think there are highly intelligent, well-meaning often people, and some of their leaders, like Kennedy, the late president, had signs of growing greatness, depth. But, you know, by and large, the administration lacks depth and judgment or wisdom, which comes out of an accumulation of knowledge of human beings and human situations over a long period of time. That's lacking.
Certainly is. Lee Wan Q. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, everyone. Thank you so much for all of your support. Looks like we raised the bonus content. You guys are so generous. Thank you. I'm going to the state capitol, and I'm going to testify the demons. Exorcise the demons. I will be about an hour and a half from now testifying in favor of abolishing Missouri's income tax. Yes. So wish me luck, guys. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some video footage for you guys to watch on socials a little bit later today. Hopefully nothing goes down. Just want to get a nice clean read and get out the dough because I got a lot of freedom to fight for right back here on the 4 Liberty Network. Enjoy the bonus content, guys. See you tomorrow.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
Wait. What?
It's Wednesday. I almost forgot. Don't forget, guys. Liberty Tonight, Wednesday night. Liberty Tonight, Wednesday, rumble.com/Liberty Tonight. Follow Brian Piotr and his adventures in homeschooling. Maybe that's the way to call the show. Brian, there you go. There's your title. We'll see you tonight, 7 p.m. Central, rumble.com/Liberty Tonight. Exit through the Griff Shop. Peace out.
In the fertile hills of Albemarle County, Virginia, on November 19, 1752, a boy was born who would conquer an empire with fewer than 200 men and a will of iron. George Rogers Clark, tall, red-haired, broad-shouldered, with the steady gaze of a frontier hunter, grew up on the edge of the wilderness. By his early 20s, he was surveying wild lands along the Ohio River, fighting Indians in Lord Dunmore's War of 1774, and learning the brutal arts of border warfare: ambush, endurance, and never giving an inch. When the Revolution exploded in 1775, Clark saw the danger to the western settlements. British officers in Detroit armed Shawnee, Miami, and other tribes to raid Kentucky and Virginia's frontier. Clark knew the key wasn't to fight the raiders in the woods. It was to strike the British supply line in the Illinois country, the vast territory northwest of the Ohio River still claimed by Britain as part of Quebec. In 1777, the 25-year-old Clark rode to Virginia's capital and convinced Governor Patrick Henry to give him secret orders and a handful of men. With only about 175 frontier riflemen, tough Kentuckians and Virginians in hunting shirts, carrying long rifles, tomahawks, and powder horns, he set out down the Ohio River in flatboats in May 1778. They floated past hostile shores, landed at Fort Massac, then marched 120 miles overland through dense forest and prairie to strike the British-held French villages. On the night of July 4th, 1778, exactly 2 years after the Declaration of Independence, Clark's men slipped silently across the Mississippi and into Kaskaskia. They burst into the sleeping town and seized the British commander without firing a single shot. The French inhabitants, many sympathetic to the American cause and newly encouraged by news of France's alliance, quickly swore loyalty to Virginia. Clark sent Captain Leonard Helm and Father Pierre Gibault to Vincennes on the Wabash River. The people there also switched sides peacefully and took Fort Sackville from its small British guard. Within weeks, Cahokia and several other outposts fell. Clark had conquered an immense territory with almost no bloodshed. But the British struck back. Lieutenant Governor Henry Hamilton, the hair buyer, marched from Detroit with regulars, militia, and Indian allies, retook Vincennes in December 1778, and holed up in Fort Sackville. Clark, down to fewer than 200 men and short on supplies, faced a brutal choice: retreat or counterattack across 180 miles of frozen, flooded wilderness in the dead of winter. On February 5, 1779, Clark led his little army out of Kaskaskia into the icy rains and thawing floods. For 18 days, they marched through knee-deep water, wading miles-wide prairies turned into lakes, breaking ice with their rifles, eating what little game they could shoot. Men nearly drowned. Morale teetered. George Rogers Clark marched at the front, singing, joking, and threatening to shoot any man who quit. When they reached the flooded Wabash bottomlands, some wanted to turn back. George Rogers Clark planted the regimental colors on a rise and waded in first. Who will follow their commander? On February 23rd, they reached Vincennes, exhausted, starving, but unseen. George Rogers Clark sent a bold message to the townspeople. The Americans had returned, and any man who joined the British would be treated as an enemy. That night, his men surrounded Fort Sackville. To magnify their numbers, George Rogers Clark marched his small force back and forth behind a low ridge, so the British would see endless flags and hear constant movement. Then the riflemen opened a deadly accurate fire, picking off anyone who showed himself at the gun ports. For 2 days, the barrage continued. Lieutenant Governor Henry Hamilton's men could not return effective fire. On February 25, 1779, the hair buyer surrendered. Clark accepted the sword with grim satisfaction and sent the British commander east in chains. The victory stunned the frontier. British power in the Northwest was broken. Indian raids on Kentucky dropped sharply. When peace came in 1783, the United States could claim the entire Old Northwest, future states of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin, because Clark had planted the American flag there with blood and audacity. Clark continued fighting. In 1780, he destroyed Shawnee towns at Chillicothe and Pequot. He beat back a British thrust toward St. Louis and raided Miami villages in 1782. But Congress and Virginia never gave him the men or money for his greatest dream: capturing Detroit. After the war, debts piled up from supplies he had personally funded. Bitter, crippled by old wounds and rheumatism, he lived out his final years in a modest cabin near Louisville, Kentucky, largely forgotten by the nation he had helped double in size. George Rogers Clark died on February 13, 1818 at 65. He was buried with military honors, later reinterred at Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville. His younger brother William would one day explore the Louisiana Purchase with Meriwether Lewis, but it was George who first carved that Western Empire for America. He was no polished gentleman general. He drank hard, swore fluently, and lived rough. But on the flooded prairies of 1779, with fewer than 200 starving riflemen, George Rogers Clark marched through hell, tricked a British fort, and won a continent for the infant United States. The conqueror of the Old Northwest, frontier hero, forgotten genius, and one of the boldest fighters the Revolution ever produced.
George Washington spent 8 years making sure nobody knew where he was. Troop movements, secret dispatches. The man was a ghost. So when a barista leaned out a window and asked for his exact location in exchange for points they called stars, he looked at his flag and said, "I've already got my stars. 13 of them. Keep your dignity and your location intact. Grab a box of Washington's Revolutionary Roast at 4 Liberty